So I've reinstalled Battlefield 4 again, and I'm happy to say that it's been a blast. Here's some gameplay from Flood Zone. I played quite a few matches in Flood Zone because right now the most popular servers that are still up and running and that are filling up are usually the base maps because, well, that's what everyone has. You don't have to worry about people leaving your server if you keep the tried and true maps in rotation. But what I wanted to talk about is Battlefield 4 is on sale right now and it's on Steam. You can get the premium edition, which is all the maps for I think like $20 right now. In my opinion, that's a good value. It's a great game. It still looks awesome and plays awesome. So at this point, I played around 600 hours of Battlefield 4 on PC. Well, when Battlefield 4 came out, you had the option of buying the base game, but you could also get the premium access. So I think if you spent around $80, you got Battlefield 4, but you knew that you would be getting all the other DLC packs. And there was like 5 DLC packs total. And I think there might have been like 2 or 3 maps per DLC pack. But anyways, there was loads of content in Battlefield 4. From Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4, it felt like it was a clear step up. Better graphics, made like the movement and actions of your character in the game feel more fluid and look more realistic. Battlefield 4 was buggy to begin with. The beta crashed. There was a certain set of drivers you had to make sure that you were still running so you could play Siege of Shanghai and actually watch the Levolution happen without it like just ending the match after that point. There would be people arguing in the chat like, don't blow up the base of the skyscraper. I'm like going ham right now. The beta was so much fun. Like, people were just into it. There was so many weapons and attachments to unlock. The pre-orders were pretty high for Battlefield 4. At least I didn't take my own advice and I pre-ordered Battlefield 4. But I think that was because so many people were happy with Battlefield 3 and DICE knew to keep the momentum going. It took a couple years for DICE to kind of hand off Battlefield to DICE LA, and there was a lot of communication between like developers and the community. There was good engagement. Battlefield became this like wonderful, chaotic, satisfying experience. After Battlefield 4 came Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 wasn't my cup of tea. It was definitely a solid game, but it just didn't capture the feelings that I had when I played the earlier 3 and 4 titles. And it was sort of DICE's first attempt at trying to make Battlefield more accessible because, they're worried about new players coming in and not knowing how to handle the onslaught of infantry and tanks and bikes and airplanes and blimps. It was just, you would sometimes get into game cycles where you would spawn and die and it would just be on repeat, and you'd have to like maybe come back from like dying 5 times in a row. So DICE was like, okay, we'll make it to where you'll die slower. It'll take more time to kill an enemy, but that means you'll have more of a chance to react, and more game time meant that you would have happier noobs because they would get to a point where they're like, okay, now I understand the game. I'm not just going to rage and quit and uninstall Battlefield 1. I'll just keep playing it because I can get better. Even Battlefield 1 had changes in its TTK. I think it was just TTK changes. I don't really remember. But they were still trying to balance after they would introduce more weapons. Because there was always like that set of weapons that became the gold standard for just crush everybody when you're trying to take an objective. Later on, when they changed the TTK, I reinstalled it, but everyone was well-seasoned player. I was kind of like lost. I didn't have all the unlocks, and everyone was like excited deciphering Morse code for, the Phantom Project, trying to understand like what secrets there are and was there information about the next Battlefield. But Battlefield 1 did try something interesting, which was incursions. I had my go at incursions. I had always dreamed about like a competitive Battlefield experience. Incursions was like, I think, a 5v5 team versus team on a small updated version of like a larger map. And it definitely had its like moments, but it was unpolished, and it was just something they were trying. But that made me happy, because I was like, okay, they want to put more into Battlefield. They want to keep reimagining different ideas of what Battlefield could be for them. But Rainbow Six had released in 2015, and I was already addicted to Rainbow Six. I've spent around 1,000 hours playing Rainbow Six Siege, and that was where I spent most of my time. I went from Battlefield 4, I tried Battlefield 1, but Rainbow Six had my attention. So eventually Battlefield 5 released in November of 2018. There was hype, but the release trailer did not sit well with many players. They were expecting a traditional World War II experience, and they wanted to experience that in the Frostbite engine, but DICE took many liberties with how they imagined that era. The beta felt good though. I mean, I was happy if they were able to capture the gunplay of early Battlefield titles like 3 and 4, and it kind of felt like that with the TTK. But then DICE decided to also try this live service approach. So they were ditching the premium pass. They were hoping this would keep the entire player base together, with everyone experiencing all the new maps and content together, right? It's a good thing. But then they went and screwed with the TTK on live servers. I was like, where the flip is the community test servers? So I was fooled once, when they reverted back from the changes they made to the TTK the first time. I had hope, since DICE LA had previously saved Battlefield 4, from its very rough launch. A couple years into the life cycle of Battlefield 4, I was happy, with the devs and community talking. But that clearly wasn't happening in Battlefield 5. BF5 is now around 2 years old. And, well, I dropped it after only playing 64 hours of gameplay. They made too many changes, and too abruptly, in my opinion, and it just, they lost me. So I'm back playing Battlefield 4. I mean, I'm having a blast, and I'm hoping so badly that DICE will give us something modern and engaging. But tell me how you feel. Is the Battlefield 6 speculation getting you hyped, or has DICE left you unsatisfied? And maybe you're okay playing other modern FPS titles. I do recommend getting Battlefield 4 on Steam right now if you don't already have it, because there's definitely an influx of players right now. And well, I mean, it's just a great time. I think what I love the most about Battlefield 4 is like the verticality of all these maps. Your movement is just, there's so much flow. Being able to run, attack infantry, get into a vehicle, take that vehicle to the next objective, get on the top floor of that building, jump out, like parachuting out of the building onto the ground, like with your RPG, and choppers, helicopters is another thing. Flying the Little Bird in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 is like, it's so much fun. It's just like a tiny little roller coaster with miniguns or rockets, and you can just have a blast flying around in that thing. So anyways, I'm Gentle Ben. Thanks for watching the video. Be kind to each other, and I'll see you in the next one.